Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. And today we are going to be talking about the BYREDO Flora Kalahari palette. So it comes in one of these white pull-through boxes, just like the other BYREDO palettes. This is my first big palette from BYREDO, and it's 30 grams or 1.05 ounces. And it is made in Italy. We have ingredient information and so forth down at the bottom. And let's take a look at the palette itself. It has this really pretty, let me just polish it a little bit, this really pretty metal packaging with this flower. The flower is raised. You can see it is a fingerprint magnet, and it does have like a magnetic closure. Okay, but there is a little lip for your finger to go in. On the back, we do have the color names and so forth on here. And full-size mirror. It does come with a sticker on there that you can pull off. And this is the palette. It's really pretty. I have to say, I almost didn't pick this up because there are so many shades that look very similar in the pan. Right now, you can see this set of three kind of looks different. We got two beiges and a pink. And then these three here also look kind of similar in certain photos, but again, we got more like two beiges and a pink, but like a softer version. However, you can see that they have like different shifts, and when you turn them, they look slightly different. So we're gonna take a look at the swatches, and let's start off with those. Okay, so these are the first four. We have a bright white shade. You can see that shimmer, and there's a touch of gold in there, so it's not just pure white. There's a little bit of a gold hint. And then we have kind of this warm tone beige, and this is a gorgeous emerald, and you can see that there's definitely shimmer in there. There's a little bit of a gold reflect, followed by this pink here, and that's kind of like a salmon pink. It's really a gorgeous color. These are the last two in the first row here. So we have this metallic coppery gold shade and a matte taupe. Now, just for reference, these two shades here, the second and the last one in the top row, are matte. This has actually got a satin sheen in here, and then this is like glittery, and these two are more metallic finish. So that's our first row. Here's the second row. I mean, look at that. That teal is just stunning. So we have another like this one's more of a burnt bronze, like an aged bronze kind of, not quite that aged. Then we have this teal. Now you can see here that the teal, it does have kind of like that dark charcoal gray undertone to it, or mix. So, you know, you can kind of fade that out. You want to pile it up to get the color. And then we have a matte, like pumpkin orange. It's actually, it's got a little bit of red in there. It's not quite a vermilion. And then a brighter gold. The last two shades, I mean, look at this one here. This is really pretty, like, it's not quite a burgundy or a cranberry. It's kind of those mixed. And then this is a pink with gold reflect. You can see you can get that a little bit sheer if you want, or, you know, build that up a little bit, but it's not gonna be super deep. This shade here though is just so pretty. There's like a touch of warmth in it. It's not as cool tone as a traditional like cranberry or burgundy. It's almost, you know, it's got a little bit of brick in there. It's like a bricked cranberry. So that's it for the second row. And for our third row here, we have another soft pink. You can see this one's gonna be a little warmer in tone. It doesn't have that reflect, but it has a metallic sheen. We have another like golden bronzed shade here, but you can see it's gonna be more vibrant. This is a deep purple, but you can see how much of a black it is. It's really almost more black with purple sparkle in it. It's not really a purple shadow like I was thinking originally. And then this shade here is more of like a deep clay shade with like a touch more of that reddish brown in there. And then these are the last two shades. We're gonna put them right here. So that's kind of a metallic beigey shade there very soft. And then this last one here is incredibly creamy and it has a reflect. It's more of a duochrome. You've got like beige and rose. So when you're looking at the palette, these three, 1, 2, and 3, those are the three that are grouped right here. And you can see that even though they look so similar in the pan, they definitely have a different appearance on the skin. So this is our entire palette, the Flora Kalahari. All right, so looking at this, we've got some shimmery shades and then we have some matte shades. This is a matte. This taupe is a matte. We have this orange that's a matte. And then this kind of more earthy clay brown is a matte. So those are our mattes. We also have some more satin shades, such as this pink one here is going to be a satin, and then this pink here is going to be a satin, and then also this one is a satin. So they're satins. They're really, you know, I'm distinguishing like kind of satin metallic with just like a little bit of shimmer versus like a more shimmery shade as a metallic. So you can see here we definitely have more metallics. And then we've got this glittery metallic here in the white. We have more of this olive green. We have this shade here, which is a little bit of a golden coppery shade, but you can see that when the light hits it a certain way, you get a little bit of pink in there as well. This one is going to be a little bit cooler in tone. We have gold with a touch of brown in there. Look, when you get up to the top, you can see more of like that cocoa brown. This, I wouldn't actually consider it a satin metallic. It's different because I think the base makes it a little bit different. It's going to be more of a satin shade with extra glitter, essentially, because of the way that they're mixed. In my opinion, I like to think of metallics as not necessarily having so much of this ability to blend out into like a gray base. So that's kind of my own thing though. So I don't know how everybody else would categorize that. But since you can kind of blend away the shimmer into more of a matte grayish base, I don't consider it a true metallic. We do have this gold here, which you can see is going to be much more vibrant. It's more of a yellow based gold. And then moving on, we have this one. This one's actually more of a satin like duochrome. You've got the pink and gold here. This one's going to be your cooler tone pink. This is going to be more of a metallic, soft, warm pink. This one here is going to be a golden copper shade. And there's, you can see, look at that up there, kind of like that reddish brown there. And then this last shade here is a metallic pink and gold duochrome there. And it's a little different than this just because of the tones. This is going to be your cooler tone pink with a softer gold. And this is going to be basically warmed up, and this pink is much peachier. When you're looking at these, I mean, duochrome wise, this is going to be your stronger duochrome as well. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on this palette briefly. We're going to look at just a few comparisons, and then I have some demos kind of just playing around with the palette so you can kind of see what it does on the eyes. And of course, this look here today is using this palette as well. So let's get started. So as we're talking about the formula and so forth, we're going to take a look at some comparisons. This here is Metal Boots in the Snow palette that came out just a few months ago. This is one of the Golden Nuggets or Oyster Shell palettes. Is this formula the same? No, it is not. So I think it's very different. And if I had to pick between the two formulas, I like this one a little bit better. The one here in this Nugget palette, they're just going to be a little bit creamier. And I just feel like the formula in the Nuggets is a little bit more unique. I haven't found any other shadow quite like it. It's creamy, almost like a putty-like powder, and you really want to kind of dab that on. Whereas these behave more as a traditional shadow where you can spread out a little bit more easily. You can see the difference in colors here. now Metal Boots in the Snow is one of my like all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. This shade in particular, you can see here, you're seeing green shift, and you can see a little bit of that reddish shift in there too. So it's got this like reddish brown and green shift, and it's stunning. This one here is going to have more blue in it than in the Flora Kalahari palette. Let's take a look at the green here in corporate colors. And I have to say the palette, these nugget palettes, I feel like they are a little bit inconsistent. Some of the shades are not quite as good as some of the others. Essentially, you can see that this shade here is more of a forest green, but what I mean, but they're all good. It's just that some of them are absolutely incredible, and some of them perhaps maybe don't perform just as well as the other. And sometimes that has to do with the different finish. But I have noticed that, you know, a couple of the palettes just aren't as great as some of the others. So in my opinion, the two, I think their more recent palettes have been very consistent. All of the shades have been beautiful. And that would be Disco here and the Metal Boots in the Snow. Whereas some of the others, you might have some that are a little bit harder to build up the color, or perhaps it's maybe a little bit more like messy to use, a little bit more crumbly. So let's take a look at these shades here. I think the three in the middle look the closest. And let's take a look at these compared to all of these like coppery shades here. So look at this one. This is a true copper. To say Disco is kind of like one of the best warm palettes ever. So you can see that this is going to have a little bit more fire in it than the one down here, which is going to be its closest match. In bright light, it looks like it might kind of be like this, but you can see this is peachier, and this one has a little bit more of that aged look. So here's a more vibrant gold, but it's more marigold orange compared to a brighter yellow here. And this one here is brown with a touch of red. Definitely not quite like this one. I have to say this shade here it's so creamy to touch, and there are a few shades in this big palette that are more similar to the ones in the nuggets. So this red shade would be one of them. I mean, just touching this one, it's so incredibly creamy. And so you can see how rich that is, how pigmented it is. It's not quite the same texturally as these, but it's going to be like the closest. I think this green one is fairly close as well. But a lot of these more vibrant metallics feel a lot more similar to those in the nugget palette in texture because of that creaminess. And just something to note, when you go into this palette, it can be a bit like powdery. You can see I kicked up some powder there. It can get a little bit messy. You don't need to blow that away. It's so creamy. You just pat it down and it is right back to the way it was before. So you don't need to lose product. It doesn't need to make a mess. It's really, really nice formula. Now here's corporate colors again. I was thinking this might match something, but just looking, it's much cooler than everything else. This shade's not going to quite match either. This is one of the mattes, but I do want to show you this so you can see kind of how the mattes have progressed over time. And I think color-wise, well, we'll just put it here because it really doesn't match too well with these others. So this is a nice matte, but it's like kind of a basic matte. I feel like the mattes here in the Flora Kalahari palette are a little bit creamier now than their originals. I think they've improved the formula, and I do feel like the mattes that you get in the nuggets are kind of more similar to this. Although I have to say the more recent palettes haven't really had any of those mattes. You know, I feel like there's a big price point between, a big price difference between this palette here and the nuggets. So I got this for, I want to say it was like $96, but the BYREDO site is selling it for $102. So I'm not really sure why the other retailers are selling it for a less expensive price. But the nuggets are, how much are they? Like $70. So, you know, they're less than the big palette, but they're not that much less. So this is 8 grams versus 30 grams. And I think one of the big differences is the formula in these. I mean, obviously this packaging is probably more expensive to make. It's heavier duty. This is a heavy palette. But you know, I think maybe some of the shades in here, perhaps the formulation has something to do with that price point, because I do find that they are just better. So now, are they better for that price point? It depends whether you're really in love with a color, like I am with Metal Boots in the Snow. But, you know, I think this is an absolutely fantastic palette. I think the formulas in here are great. The formulas are consistent within the palette, you know, with across the finishes and so forth. And I think that if you are interested in BYREDO shadows, this is a really nice introduction. Again, I do think that the formula is very different from these. So you're not going to get exactly the same sense as using one of the Nugget palettes, but I think this is really nice. You know, I still think that the quality and the texture of these is slightly different than you get from like a traditional palette from, you know, I was going to say like more mainstream brand. I think BYREDO has become pretty mainstream, but you know, like a year ago, even then, like a lot of people hadn't heard about them, at least in terms of makeup, maybe in fragrance, but you know, not so much with the eyeshadows. So I feel like now they've become more mainstream, but even then, this is still going to be more different. It's more similar to something like a formula you might get from like Natasha Denona or something when she came on the scene. She made things a little more different than like a Dior or a Chanel. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say with this. Now, speaking of Natasha Denona, I did want to take a look at the Mini Retro palette because I wanted to compare these pinks. Well, this green and this pink. So let's take a look. This green is going to be mintier, I think. And then this pink, let's put this down here with these. Yeah, okay, so the pink in the Mini Retro, I think, is pretty similar. It's like a cross between these two here. It's a little bit more vibrant than this one, but they're really close. So just something to note. And I do think formula-wise, these are kind of similar. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. This is the Mini Metropolis that came out. We're going to take a look at this more bright gold and this teal shade and see how they compare. So here's this teal. We're going to put this right here. So you can see that this is going to be more green, a little bit less blue. But I have to say I like the Natasha Denona teal better just because I don't really like the black base personally. You can see here this purple, which is really more like it's a super, super deep eggplant. It's not quite black. It's definitely purple, but it's almost black. On my eyes, it looks pretty much black with just the purple sparkle, but you can see how that's not super evident. Here's the gold from Mini Metropolis. Let's put that right here. Oh, that's more vibrant than that. It's more like an orangey gold. It doesn't quite go with these. It's actually closer to the one in Disco, but even then, this is gonna be brighter. And let's take a look at the Mini Gold while we're at it as well. So we'll look at the gold and this metallic green. I just feel like these shades are probably the most unique in the palette, so that's kind of why I'm focusing on those. But you can see this is going to be a brighter, more spring-like green, not quite as olive. And then this gold here, I mean, let's try to squeeze it. Well, we'll just put it here. I mean, it's not the same, but it's probably close enough to this shade. And then I wanted to take a look at Tom Ford First Frost. I wanted to look at this pink shade in particular and compare it to this pink one here. Yeah, they're kind of close. You can see that the one in Tom Ford is going to have a little bit more of that champagne mixed into it compared to the BYREDO. But when you get the light hitting them just right, they look kind of the same. You can see those swatches there actually kind of just blend into each other. Another palette this kind of reminded me of is the Suku Holiday palette from 2020. So we're just going to swatch a couple. I'm going to start with this red here. And let's just put this one, put it right here. You can see it's a softer red. The finish is different. This is like a creamier, thicker formula. The Suku is more, it's a thinner finish, a little bit more weightless. And let's take a look at, well, let's go in with this gold, and might as well, I don't think this orange is gonna do anything, but might as well just play with it while it's out. So here's the orange. That doesn't work. And then the gold up here. No, it's a softer gold than anything in the BYREDO. And here's NARS Climax. Let's take a look at this green and this burgundy. Now this is going to be much cooler in tone, more purpley shade. Yeah, there's that. And then here's the green. Squeeze that in here. And that's going to be a brighter green. All right, here's Dior Popeline. We're going to take a look at this pink here. Might as well look at this pink one here, but this is going to be cooler in tone here. So here's the middle shade. You can see how cool that is. Doesn't quite go with any of these. And then here's the other shade. It's still cooler in tone as well. Very pretty. It kind of goes with those though. And then last up, this is Dior Black Knight from Holiday 2020. Just wanted to kind of compare this. I mean, it's more burgundy than the reds in here, but kind of more so with this purple shade. It's kind of like a redder version of it. Now, this is a shade where same type of deal as the purple. If you pile it on, you're going to get this color. If you blend it out, or actually that's how the teal is. But if you blend it out, you're going to get more of this like deeper base. But if you pile it on, you're going to get something a little bit more vibrant, more a purple base of this. So I think that's it for my comparisons. Overall, I have to say that this is a really nice palette compared to the Nugget palettes. I would definitely say that this is worth the cost. Regardless, you know, I think it is a really great palette. These are colors that you would use. You know, I think a lot of them are really usable, you know, kind of like neutrals with a little kick. So I think they can be used every day. And if that's something you're interested in, I think this is a really great palette to pick up. It's nice because it has those adventurous tones in here that you can really amp things up. It's kind of like an all-in-one. I do think overall the shades run a little bit warm. It's a neutral warm palette. So there are some neutrals, there are some warm shades. There are a couple cooler tone shades and stuff thrown in here as well. But I'd say overall, if you had to pick, the palette's warmer than cooler. And I think though there's something for everybody in it. So I think it's a really great palette. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. We do have a 12-month shelf life on this once opening, and I have to say I think it's really great. So let me go ahead and share the demos, my trying things out with you, and then I will see you back here. All right, so we're gonna try this top right shade. I don't have any primer on right now because we're gonna just kind of play around for a bit. This is the Refer 27 brush. So we're just gonna put that in the crease. And it looks a little bit warmer on my eyes than I expected it to, but it's a good base shade. Next, I wanna go into this green. I mean, was there really any surprise there? Just want to see how this performs. So this is a different formula than what's in the nuggets. These are not the same. It's kind of like a thinner, less, I mean, I wouldn't say it's less creamy in a different way. You know, the BYREDO ones in the nuggets are kind of like this really interesting, unique formula that's a little bit more like putty-like. You have to put it where you want it and stuff like that. It's a little bit thicker. This is more traditional, yet very creamy. Definitely a very nice formula. I like this color. I did get a touch of fallout here. You know, not too bad though. I want to try this sparkly red shade here. We're using the BYREDO liner brush, just knocking off the edges here. Just going to line the eye here. I mean, this is kind of Christmassy, but Right now, it's really more about just seeing what these colors look like on the eyes. And a lot of times, you know, to get a vibrant liner, you really want to get this wet, but look how vibrant this red is. That's like incredible. Let's wing that out a little bit more. Look at that shade. That's really cool. And for the inner corner, let's take this gold shade here. This is the Pencil Pro from Sonia G. Wow, I like it. I think lower lashes, I would probably just go in with more of this green because, you know, it's green. Yeah. So that's my first eye. Let's play around with these 3 pink shades here. So I think we're going to use this pink here at the top, more in the crease. Oh, see, it's a little dusty. This is a really pretty rose shade. I didn't think I would use this one much, actually, but looking at the way it looks on my skin, I do think, actually, it's something I might use a little bit more than I anticipated. We're going to try these 3 shades. So sometimes when the light hits it, this looks more like golden. It's like a golden pink shift. So you can see sometimes it looks more pink. Sometimes it looks more like a beige gold. So let me do a finger application actually. We're gonna start with the one here at the top. Ooh, I love this color. Look at that shift there. I mean, it's not as shifty as a Pat McGrath, but it's like a subtle version of it there. And then let's try this one. This one's peachier. Can you see much of a difference though on the eye? A little bit. You can definitely tell that the inner portion shade is going to be a little bit warmer than the one on the outside, but I wouldn't say it's a huge difference. Just curious about this one here, although I don't think we're going to be able to see that much on top here. Ooh, well, I don't know. You can actually see a difference in the shades there. But in general, I think these 3 are still fairly similar on the eye. Let's just go ahead and put this on top. They just all have slightly different colors in them. It's kind of like the base is pretty similar in all 3 of them, but they have different like shimmers mixed in, a little bit of a different like color flick and so forth. And I think that's what's making those different. All right, let me show you these from a distance. I'm gonna wash this off and let's do some more playing. So here are these. We'll have to try the pink ones again with something else, but just kind of wanted to see how they went on. All right, so I want to play with the purple and the blue. So we're going to do purple on one eye and the teal on the other. Wow, look at this. So this is the Sonia G Soft Shader. I don't have any primer on. You know, that is a little different than what I expected, actually. Let me see how it goes on with the finger. You can see it's, you can build it up like this. It's, I don't know. This one is a little different. This one, you know, fades out a little bit more, a little bit easier to blend. Good for a smoky eye, but look, you can It's almost blending away. Let me remove this and try it with primer. All right, so I just added the Viseart eye primer to both eyes here. We're gonna go ahead and try this purple again. And let's just see. It definitely goes on a little bit more strongly to begin with. You see that it's like a deep kind of almost a charcoal eggplant purple with pink sparkle. I just wiped the brush off. Just want to see how this kind of fades. So yeah, this is one that you're gonna kind of really be able to blend out into a very soft pale shade. Now with the primer, it doesn't do that quite as readily. Without the primer, like almost just like came off the eye. But it's definitely one that you can blend out and soften. So just something to note there. Let's try it with this this shade here at the bottom. This is this one here, and we're gonna put this with it. Wow, look at that. Just gonna very gently tap what's left on the brush over the purple. Now, on the other side, we're going to try another pink, I think, probably, but let's go in with the teal, same brush. Now, I do have the primer on this eye. I feel like it performs pretty similarly to the purple. It's a really pretty shade. Just grabbing the Refer 27 to blend this a little bit. You know what? We're going to dab a little bit of that into the purple. And let's put that up here. I mean, my eyes are kind of a mess right now, but this one, I'm going to go with the one that's on top here. This, you can see, is kind of like a cooler tone pink. Definitely not as vibrant as this one. It doesn't have the same type of sparkle. I like the color though. It's really soft. Let's go ahead. I'm going to layer this one on top of it and just see if that, see, this one's not as sparkly either. Yeah, this one's more peachy. I feel like though the teal and the purple both just kind of went out to the more of a grayish shade. Let's try putting this on. I just feel like the color itself is not that evident on me. The purple is so deep for me that you can't really see too much of the purple. You can see the teal, but I feel like the teal looks better if you put it on with a finger or perhaps a damp brush. Before I go wash this off, let's just go ahead and take this last shimmery shade here and see what it does on top of the purple. Yeah, it doesn't layer on there as much as I thought. Basically, you can see the sparkle, a little bit more sparkle, but it's not as vibrant as I was thinking it would be. Let's go ahead and try this one with the finger as well. See, I love that kind of like softly pink frosted look you can get on top of the teal there. I like that. So this is what the colors look like from a distance. All right, so this is my last look for the day. I just want to use these two. So this is the Synergy Jumbo Blender. I'm going to go into this shade here. I have the Viseart Eye Primer on. And look at this. Ooh, I like this. Just going to get a little bit on the tip and kind of work that into the crease a little bit as well. This is just going to be very simple. All right, and next I'm taking the Pencil Pro from Synergy into the white. I'm going to start this in the inner corner, and then I want to just kind of gradually blend this into this more golden beige. Switching to the Jumbo Blender with no additional shadow, just to kind of soften that in. Okay, so this is a Refer 27 I used before. I don't have any additional shadow on it. I did wipe it off, and I'm just kind of blending this a little bit at the crease. And for liner, I want to use the teal, but I'm going to use these are the it's the Esom Pro Mixing Medium. So taking the angled liner from BYREDO, just gonna kind of get that damp there, and just gonna go into this teal shade here. All right. I'm going a little bit above the lash line so you can kind of see the color more, hopefully. That's a really pretty shade. So I'm going to take another drop of the liquid and just like a tiny drop. Just going to get this wet again. And I'm going to go into the purple. I'm just going to add a little bit of purple towards the inner portion. I'm just taking this super close to the lash line, what's left there, so that the purple doesn't just like stop. I still feel like the purple's just not that noticeable as purple. For the lower lash line, I'm taking the Pencil Pro into the matte taupe shade and just gonna put a little bit of this down here. And I really wanted to try this pink on the cheeks, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of this pink. This is the Refer 18, and this is gonna be my blush today. You can see there's a little bit of like a sheen, a little bit of a color shift in there. There's some gold. So wiped off the brush, just gonna buff that a little bit. All right, so I'm just gonna finish my makeup and then I'll show you the final look. And this is the final look from a distance. So again, I have on the BYREDO palette as the blush. I did add a touch of the Guerlain Terracotta Light Powder. And I have the Chanel Rouge Allure Luxury Lipstick in 822 Rose Supreme on. The foundation is the Suku, the liquid foundation in 105. And I have it on top of the Cle de Peau Brightening Enhancer Primer. So that is everything. Okay, so I have the Viseart Eye Primer on, and I want to play with these three shades today. This green, the gold, and this pink. So I think we're going to start off with the Sonia G Soft Shader. And we're going to start off with this pink. And I'm going to put this over like the inner half of the lid. I mean, I just really like this particular shade. So we might come back to this one, but let's move on to this gold here in the middle. I haven't really tried this one yet. So we're using the same brush, but I wiped it off. Put this right here in the middle, so I'm overlapping the pink a bit. And I'm gonna leave the very outer corner here, wiping the edges of the brush and just going to kind of feather this pink and this gold together a little bit more. Just dipping back into the pink a little bit. I just want to have a little bit more of a gradient here. And since the pink is a little bit more sheer, it's gonna go over the gold a little bit more easily. And then for the outer portion, we're gonna go into the green. Same brush. Taking the Sonia G Blender Pro, I'm going to dip into this matte and this kind of beigey rose shade at the bottom. Just going to kind of mix those together and just dab that on my cloth a little bit. Just going to buff this slowly into the crease here. Wiping the brush off and just going to diffuse that a bit. So I'm taking the Chantecaille eye blend brush. I'm going to go into this shade here, the very last shade in the palette. I'm just going to add a little bit of that right to the inner corner. Wow, that's really pink. You know what? Let's add some white on top of that, actually. It's a little bit too reddish. There we go. And for the lower lash line, I'm going to go into the gold using this eye blend brush and just going to put a little bit here. I actually haven't put on my foundation or anything yet, so I do have concealer on though. Just getting a dab of the green for the outer portion right there. Just kind of mix that in a little bit. And I wiped off the brush and just blending that together. So for eyeliner, I was going to use the BYREDO Eye Kajal in the brown shade, which I think is like Bora Bora. But I can't find it. I think it's in my sharpening pile. So we're going to actually use the silver in Chandi. And this one is a limited edition shade. All right, so here's Chandi. I'm going to add some mascara, finish my makeup, and I'll see you in a second for the final look. All right, and this is the final look from a distance. So I have on the Chanel No. 1 de Chanel foundation in shade BD01 with the Tom Ford Traceless Soft Matte Primer underneath and the Dior Backstage Concealer. Brows are the Givenchy Brow Groom and the pencil and the gel. And the blush, I have the Suku in 01 and 02. And the highlight is the Givenchy highlighter from the holiday collection. On the lips, I have the Tom Ford Satin Matte Lipstick in Rose de Sheen, topped with the Chanel lip gloss in Bourgeoisie, I think it's called, it's 119. So that's everything on my lips. Or on my face. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you'd like to see more of this palette. I think it's really fun to play with and I hope to see you very soon. So have a great day and stay safe and healthy.